Let me ask you something, and I need you to take this seriously for just a second. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow morning and everything was gone? No savings. No income. No safety net. Just you, your phone, and a bank account sitting at zero. Not almost zero. Zero. What is your actual first move? Because I've been sitting with this question for months now, turning it over, stress testing it, running through every scenario, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do, step by step, dollar by dollar, decision by decision, starting today in 2026. And I promise you this, by the time this video is over, you're going to see something about your situation that you have never seen clearly before. Stay with me. If you're new here, welcome to Mindshift Stories. This channel exists for one reason: to give you the thinking and the strategy that actually changes the direction of your life. Not feel-good motivation that fades by Tuesday. Not advice recycled from a book written in 1987. Real frameworks, real stories, real talk. If that's what you're looking for, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell. It's free. And what's coming in the next few weeks on this channel is some of the most important content we've ever made. Subscribe, get comfortable, and let's get into this. Okay. So here's where we are. The old rules are gone. Go to school, get a job, work 40 years, retire. That model is crumbling faster than most people are willing to admit out loud. The economy has shifted. The job market has shifted. The skills that commanded stable salaries for 2 decades are being automated or outsourced at a pace that is genuinely uncomfortable to look at. And here's the thing that most people miss. The same disruption that is threatening people who aren't paying attention is creating enormous, real, accessible opportunity for people who are. This is not a pep talk thesis of fact. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is no longer primarily about resources. It is about decisions, and that is exactly why this video exists. Because if you're starting from zero, by choice, by circumstance, by bad luck, or by a mistake you made, the path forward is more specific than most people realize, but only if you're willing to move differently than most people do. So let me paint a scene. It's a Tuesday morning. You wake up somewhere that is not your ideal situation. Maybe it's a friend's couch. Maybe it's a small apartment you can barely afford another month of. Maybe you just lost your job, or your business collapsed, or a relationship ended and took your financial stability with it on the way out. Whatever the reason, the number is zero, and the first thing most people do in that moment, the absolute first thing, is panic. They start making desperate moves. They apply for every job listing they can find, without strategy, just volume. They start scrolling their phone looking for something that feels like momentum. They reach out to people they haven't talked to in 2 years, asking for favors they haven't earned. They spin. They burn energy. They exhaust themselves, and at the end of the first week, they are not further ahead. They are just more tired and more scared than they were on day one. And here's why that happens. Fear is a powerful thing. When your bank account is empty and rent is due in 3 weeks, your brain does not naturally think clearly. It shifts into survival mode. Survival mode narrows your vision. It makes short-term desperation feel like long-term strategy. And that mislabeling, that confusion between urgent action and smart action, is the first trap. The decisions you make in the first 30 days of starting from zero will either build a foundation that holds you for years or create a cycle you'll spend the next decade trying to break out of. The first 30 days are not about speed. They are about direction. So what is the actual first move? And I need you to slow down here with me, because the answer is not what most people expect. Before I applied for a single job, before I posted anything online, before I made any financial move at all, I would sit down with a piece of paper and write down every single thing I know how to do, not just professional skills. Everything. Can you cook? Write it down. Can you drive? Write it down. Are you good at explaining things? Write it down. Can you fix things? Write it down. Are you organized? Are you good with people? Are you good at research? Can you edit video at even a beginner level? Can you write a clear, readable email? Can you manage a calendar, run a meeting, handle a difficult conversation without it falling apart? All of it goes on that list. Because before we talk about money, We need to talk about your inventory. And your inventory is not your bank account. Your inventory is you. Most people dramatically underestimate what they already know. They look at someone successful and assume that person has some rare gift, some secret knowledge, some insider access that they don't. And almost every single time, that assumption is wrong. What separates the person who builds something from zero from the person who stays at zero is not talent. It is the willingness to look at what they actually have and figure out how to aim it in the right direction. That list, that full, honest inventory of what you can do is step one. Don't skip it. Don't minimize it. It is the map before the journey. Now, step two is where things get concrete. You take that list and you circle the 3 things you know best, not the 3 things you enjoy the most, though ideally there's overlap. The 3 things where if someone sat down next to you and started asking questions, you could talk for an hour without stopping, because here is a law of economics that is as reliable as gravity. People will always pay to save time. That is not an opinion. It is a pattern that holds across every market, every era, every type of business. People pay for convenience. They pay for expertise. They pay for someone who can do in 1 hour what would take them 10 hours to figure out on their own. And sitting in your inventory right now, in that list you just made, there are things you can do that other people would genuinely, immediately pay for. Most people have never even looked at it that way. Let me give you a real example. Say one of the things on your list is that you're good at organizing. Most people would dismiss that as non-marketable. But think about it from the other side. There are professionals all over this country who are living in operational chaos. Their digital files are a disaster. Their inboxes are unmanageable. Their business systems are held together with duct tape and good intentions, and they would write you a check right now if you showed up and fixed it. 1 afternoon of your time, real money. Not a career yet, not a business empire, but a transaction, a real exchange of value. And that transaction is how every dollar you will ever build starts. Not from passive income strategy, not from a course, from a simple, honest exchange. From a simple, honest exchange between what you know and what someone else needs. Now, I know what some of you are already thinking. You're thinking, okay, that's small money. I'm trying to build something real. Something that compounds. Something that actually changes my life. And I hear you. But let me say something directly. You cannot build a tower from the top. The foundation is not optional, and the foundation is not a plan. It is your first real proof. The first time you make money through your own direct effort and skill, something shifts in your brain that no amount of planning, reading, or visualizing can replicate. You stop operating on theory and start operating on evidence. And evidence is the fuel that keeps the whole machine running when things get hard. Without it, every big idea you have stays an idea. With it, every big idea has a real launch pad. So in the first 2 weeks of starting from zero, my only goal is what I call the rapid value exchange. I take my top 3 skills. I go to every person I know, friends, family, former coworkers, neighbors, old classmates, and I tell them honestly, directly, without any fake sales energy. I'm building something. I'm offering help with exit Y rate. No pitch, no pressure, no elaborate website, no logo, no brand identity. Just a real offer from a real person with a real skill. And within those 2 weeks, you will find your first client. The money will be small, but it will be yours. And it will change everything about how you think about what is possible. Now let's move forward. Here is something most videos in this space will not say to you directly. The biggest threat to your financial future in 2026 is not the economy. It is not inflation. It is not AI replacing jobs. Those are real factors, but they are outside your control. The thing that is actually most likely to keep you stuck is a behavior pattern most people never even name. I call it productive avoidance. Productive avoidance looks like this. You research for 3 weeks instead of starting. You build a perfect website for a business that has no customers yet. You watch 40 hours of YouTube about a skill before you try to use it once. You rewrite your resume 6 times instead of making 1 cold call. You prepare obsessively for a conversation you never actually have. It looks like work. It feels like progress. it produces almost nothing. The reason people do it is simple. Preparation feels safe, action feels risky. But the market does not reward preparation. It rewards delivery. You do not get paid to get ready. You get paid to show up and do. Every extra hour you spend preparing instead of doing is an hour of evidence you are not collecting. Evidence that you can execute. Evidence that you can handle discomfort. Evidence that you are the kind of person who ships. That evidence is the thing you actually need. And you only get it by moving. Now you've got your first small income running. You've made your first real exchange of value. Now what? This is actually the most dangerous moment in the journey, because when you have a little bit of money and a little bit of stability, the brain relaxes. It says good enough. It stops pushing. And most people stop there. They find just enough to cover the bills, just enough to not panic. And they look up 5 years later wondering why nothing changed. They mistook stability for progress. That is the comfort trap. It does not announce itself. It quietly absorbs your potential, and you wake up one day realizing you have been standing still for a decade. Let me tell you a story. A few years back, I came across an interview with a guy named Marcus Nuck Famous, not a social media personality, just a regular person who had been a warehouse supervisor for 11 years. He got laid off at 39 with about $600 in savings, a wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage that was not going to pause because his paycheck did. The first thing he did was not hustle. He sat for 2 days. Just sat, which sounds like failure, but was actually the most important thing he did. Because in those 2 days he let the panic run its course, so he could not make his decisions. On day 3 he wrote the list. His list included logistics coordination, shift scheduling, inventory management, and something he almost did not write down. He was exceptionally good at training new employees. He had a gift for breaking down complicated processes into simple steps. He had done it hundreds of times. He had never thought of it as a skill with market value. Within 10 days, he had his first client, a small e-commerce company growing faster than their onboarding process could handle. He charged them $400 to build a training document and walk their team lead through it. One afternoon, $400. That was his proof. The money mattered, but what mattered more was what it proved. A real business had looked at something in his brain and decided it was worth paying for. Everything that came after grew from that root, not from the money, from the proof. The moment your first income stream is stable, even if small, you build the second layer. The second layer is deliberate skill investment. Not going back to school. Not spending money you do not have on expensive courses. Strategically identifying one Hivalia skill the market is paying premium rates for. Right now that includes understanding and applying AI tools in real business contexts. Short-form video production and editing. Copywriting that moves people to act. Sales done the right way. Data analysis at a functional level. These are not trendy skills. These are skills that solve expensive problems. You are not trying to become the best in the world. You are trying to become functional, capable enough to deliver real results to a real client. That level is reachable in 60 to 90 days of focused daily practice. Not 8 hours a day, 60 to 90 minutes a day. Done consistently, with deliberate intent to apply what you learn, not passive consumption. Active practice. If you are learning copywriting, you write every day. If you are learning video editing, you edit every day. If you are learning sales, you have a real conversation every day. The practice is the education. Everything else is context. Your first 90 days will not look how you imagine. Around week 3 or 4, you will hit the first wall. A client did not work out. A piece of content got ignored. A pitch got rejected. Income did not arrive when expected, and your brain will present a reasonable argument to quit. It will sound strategic. It will feel logical. It will be quitting. The people who separate themselves are the ones who recognize that wall for what it is, not a sign they chose wrong, a test of commitment. Most people who watch videos like this will do nothing with what they learned, not because they are incapable, because consuming feels like progress. And the gap between consuming and doing never closes unless you close it intentionally. Right now, someone with half your capability is taking imperfect action, building real momentum, not because they know more. Because they started. Feeling ready is not the prerequisite, it is the reward. You start first, readiness follows. So let me give you the specific 90-day blueprint. In the first 2 weeks, your only goal is one transaction. Find one person who needs something you can do, and do it for money. Do not build anything. Do not plan anything complicated. Just make one real exchange of value. Win condition is one paid transaction. From weeks 3 through 8, you run 2 tracks simultaneously. Track 1 is keeping income from your first skill flowing. Track 2 is 60 to 90 minutes every morning, developing your high-value target skill. Not at night when you are tired. Not when it is convenient. First thing. Every day, during this same window, you start documenting, not performing. Documenting. You share what you are learning. What is surprising you? What is harder than you expected? What is working? This accelerates your own learning, and it begins building a real presence. The internet is saturated with polished expertise. What is rare is watching someone figure something out in real time. People see themselves in that process. Recognition creates connection. Connection builds trust. Trust eventually builds income. From weeks 9 through 13, you make your first skill upgrade offer. You take the skill you developed for 60 days and price it. You offer it to a real client at a real rate. You do not pretend to be the most experienced person in the world. You present yourself as someone who understands a specific problem and can deliver a specific result. That is enough to start. The first client is the hardest. The second is easier because you have evidence. The third is easier still. The compounding has started. Now here is a mindset shift most people never talk about. Most people keep a back door open in their mind. They call it a backup plan. In reality, it is an exit, and your brain knows it is there. When things get difficult, part of your energy drifts toward that door. Your commitment becomes qualified. Your work reflects hesitation. People can feel that. The fastest builders are not the most talented. They are the most committed. They close the back door internally, not recklessly, but decisively. Now, let me say something important before we close. Everything described here is possible, but possible is not automatic. There will be a stretch where it feels like nothing is working. Income is stuck. Content is not growing. Skills still feels unpolished. You are doing everything right and results are not visible yet. This is not failure. This is the lag. Every day of practice is adding capability that is not yet visible. Every conversation is planting seeds that have not produced referrals yet. Every piece of content is building consistency. The algorithm is quietly noting. None of it is visible yet, but it is accumulating. And then, 1 week, the accumulation hits a threshold. A piece of content takes off. A client refers 3 people. A skill clicks into place. An opportunity appears. Unexpectedly, this is not luck. It is compound interest on invisible effort. The people who look like overnight successes are not overnight successes. They are the ones who kept going during the lag. Now I want to ask you something directly. If you woke up tomorrow with $0 in your account, what is the very first thing you would actually do? Not what sounds good. What you would realistically do in that first hour. Drop it in the comments. Your answer reveals your current default programming. And that awareness is powerful. If this gave you something real today, share it with one person. See you in the next one.